wonder if I should call her. Hello? Thank you, Nindra.
Hi, Dad.
Hello, everybody. Jain.
Thank you, Nindra.
JSCNC.
I left Deepti a voice message. Station Nindra, Anandai. If the panelists can keep their cameras on, that would be good. Oh, okay. Deepti says she's coming. Thank you, Pritish Bhai and Anand Bhai, for joining. Good to have your support.
I'm sure people will join.
You're welcome. And thank you, Purvi, first and foremost, to you for getting this organized. And of course, our great panel here. Welcome.
Thank you, Jaijendra, everyone.
Jai Jinendra.
I think we're very fortunate in our community. You know, when we need it, people come together to help out, or whatever it is that's needed. When I see Saloni and Shaunak, it just amazes me. કારણ કે મારા મનમાં તો હજી એ લોકો જ્યારે નાના હતા ને એ જ આવે. જય જીનેન્દ્ર સીતાબેન.
Jai Janendra Purvi.
Hey, Dad.
Hello.
I made my bed.
Okay.
There's time to wake up.
I thought Saloni needs to wake up. We can be in the bed. It's okay for us. We are old people.
હજી તો ખાલી 3 વાગ્યા છે. Come on. Okay, India નથી કે બપોરના
Bapon, it's a nap time. It's a weekend nap time.
I don't think હવે ઇન્ડિયામાં ઘણા લોકો લેતા હશે nap. Everyone's busy.
Did you ask for RSVP or something, or was?
I did not request RSVP, but there was a password to get into the meeting, so I hope.
Okay.
And actually, I did not know this ahead of time, but there's some youth minor league cricket tournament going on today, right now. So,
Yeah, that's a big thing. I think it's a big tournament, and Morrisville is hosting it, right? So
okay, yeah, so I did not know that was today or at this time, but so that's where Ketan and my kids went. Hello,
Hey
Deepti.
everybody, it's Dipti. Nice to see everybody.
You too. Good morning to you.
Good morning. I'm on the phone. I'm gonna still try to get it on the computer.
Okay.
You guys need to go to Zoom and get with the 21st century.
I think our center has had the WebEx accounts for some time now, so. So just so everyone knows, we are recording this because there were some people that reached out that they wanted to at least hear it afterwards because they weren't able to attend at this time. Okay, so all the panelists are here. Maybe we'll wait a couple more minutes for a few more people to join and then we'll get started. Sound good?
I would love to just get to know the rest of you. Saluni, like, what are you up to? Shaunak, what are you up to? Karishma, same.
Yeah, we're gonna get into introductions soon, Deepti. I just wanted to wait a couple of minutes for more people to join so we could do that. Okay, welcome again, everyone, and thank you for joining. Thank you especially to our panelists today, Karishma Shah, Deepti Doshi, Saloni Shah, and Shaunak Doshi. If each of you can take a turn to introduce yourself and why you want, volunteer to participate today, and in general, what motivates you to continue to be active in our either JSCNC or Jain community in general, or other volunteer activities in general. So, you want to start, Deepti?
Sure, I'm happy to. And since I'm starting, I'll actually just request everybody to put their video on if they can. I just think it'll make for a much easier and better conversation. I'm Dipti. I don't even know where to start, but yeah, I grew up with the Jain Center in North Carolina, and today I work at Facebook thinking about how we can build new products, particularly focused on helping people build community and a deeper understanding of one another. And I live in Berkeley with my husband Adrian and two kids, Aiden and Luca, who are 5 and almost 2. I can pass it to Soloni.
Hey, yeah, I'm Saloni. I'm currently a senior at UNC Greensboro, and I'm getting my degree in elementary education with a minor in sign language. So that's what I've been up to.
Thank you, Saloni. Go ahead, Karishma.
Hi everyone, Jain. I'm just super excited to be here. A little bit about myself. I live in Cary, North Carolina. I have two children, Ria and Viraj. They are the their life for me. I absolutely love them. And what motivates me is that I was born Jain, and Jainism is super close to my heart. Not only I see it as a set of rituals that you just go to temple and do puja and all that, I really see it as a way of life. And I want to spread the message to everyone, like whether Jain or non-Jain, that life can be very beautiful. You can live a very contentful life with simple principle of Jainism. So
Thank you. Shona?
Hey everybody, my name is Shana Kadoshi. I grew up in the Raleigh, Cary area, and I still live in the area. I've been part of JSCNC, I guess, for my whole life. Patshala, Jain meetings, Jain camp, everything that we've done for several years. Currently, like I said, I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm an assistant project manager for Brassfield and Gorey. We're a general contractor, so I do a lot of healthcare construction right now, mostly projects at Wake Med. But yeah, like I said, I grew up in the JSCNC community. It's a very big part of who I am today, as is just Jainism and all of its principles. So I'm really excited to be on this panel and get a chance to just discuss it further.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And um, since we actually have a few people on, does everyone who is on just want to quick introductions of who you are? And if you can, please turn on your cameras.
Okay, I'll go first. Pritesh Shah. I've been with JSCNC for what 23 some years, 20 to 23 years. Of course, Saloni is our daughter, and being a Patshala teacher, I've had the privilege to be with a lot of kids. Shaunak, Saloni. It's been my, you know, pleasure to be there, and we are absolutely a big family. JSCNC is a big family for us. So, again, we glad to be part of the family here. So.
Anand Bhai?
Sure, I'll go next. Hey everyone, Anand Shah. I've lived in the research or Raleigh Durham area for over 20 years. And I've been involved with the Jain Study Center of North Carolina for roughly about the same time, because this was, the place that I sought. Um, I remember the month that I moved in here, and like a lot of us on the phone call or on the conference call today, I ran into Praveen Bhai at the Hindu temple, and that's he kind of explained me what we do as a center and how often we do things. So that's how I started meeting other Jains in the area. I've been involved both at the local level. I've had a couple of tours in the executive committee, long-time volunteer here. And I am a president this year, along with Purvi, who is also part of the executive committee this year. Very excited to be here and welcome all the panelists, and special thanks to Purvi for getting this set up.
Thank you. Sejal Bin, Minal Bin, Rita Bin, if each of you want to introduce yourselves as well. Okay, Rita Bin's audio is not working, but so Sejal Bin, please go ahead.
Yeah, Jain everyone. This is Sejal Shah from Raleigh, North Carolina. And yes, I have been part of our Jain Center for past 23 years. And I'm Pashada teacher for past more than a decade. And for past 3 years, I've been the Pashada director. I've been involved with the Jain Education Committee. I'm part of it. And since past 4 or 5 years, I've been really more involved with Jain education projects and all, and also all thanks to Praveen Uncle and his teachings and his ideas and the explanation that he gives that really makes it interesting. And I agree with Karishma that Jainism is the way of life, and I do believe in that. And I have two kids, one in college and one in high school, and it has been fantastic journey in Raleigh in our Jain Center. And also wanted to thank Purvi for organizing this, and looking forward to hearing all your inputs and your sharing your thoughts. All right. Thanks,
Okay.
Purvi.
Thank you. And Minalben, you're also part of the committee if you want to introduce yourself. I know you've also been active for some time.
Hi everyone, I'm Meenal Shah, and I'm really proud of our JSCNC family, and I have to see how all these kids, Saloni and all others, my kids also, how they have grown up in JSCNC family and how they carry the value of Jainism. And again, it's my pleasure to be part of this family. Thank you.
Yeah. And there are a few other people remaining to introduce themselves. I'm not sure I've met you before, but Hirsch Schmaltz, can you please give
Jai
us?
Janendra, everyone. I'm actually from Chicago. We got this through the JSMC, I'm sorry, USA Pathshala Teachers Group. So we have one son in college and one in high school. So we thought we'd join in and listen in.
Okay, thank you so much for joining. And Healy, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah, hi everyone. This is Helly, and I am living in Virginia area, Northern Virginia. I have known or interacted with Sejal Ben in the past couple of activities. I have known Karishma personally also as a family friend, and I am happy to be here. I have been a Pathshala teacher for several years. In the Virginia area, we have been associated with the Jain Society of Metropolitan Washington as well as Jain Temple of Virginia. And I have two kids. One is in high school, the other one is in elementary age. And we do, of course, have Jain values and try to follow some principles. Want to just hear from everybody here as to how this is helping them in their life, and we can learn from them. So
Okay,
happy to be here.
thank you
Thank you.
so much. Vikrant Bhai, and then Toro and Rajan Bhai, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the Q&A. Thank you.
Sure. Hi, Vikrant Nanavati. Interested to hear from the next generation of how they are interpreting the Jain principles. Have been here since almost 6 years. Wife's name is Sejal, and I have two boys, Soumya and Soham, in college right now. And yeah, it's excited. Have learned a lot after coming to the North Carolina about Jainism, thanks to Praveen uncle and Jyota uncle. So looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you. Toro.
Hey guys, how are you? Jai Jinendra to everyone. I just wanted to, my son gonna go in college and my daughter is already in high school. And we do teach them Jain principles and value and everything, but sometimes it's hard to follow. And I'm just looking forward to see how things will work in the college and how can they apply the Jain principles over there when they're not close to us. So just I'm here to see how things are gonna go and how these kids was already in the college and how they applied everything in their life. And if they can follow that too. So just here to learn a little bit more about it, nothing else.
Yep, exactly. And Rajan Bhai, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, hi, I'm Rajan. I'm Shaunak's dad. We have two boys, Shaunak and Sohil. Both are young professionals. They both graduated from NC State and both are working now as professional engineers. Our kids have truly benefited from JSCNC activities, starting with Pathshala at young age and through various activities as they grew up. I particularly dialed in to hear other panelists' perspective on how they are, applying Jain principles in their professional and personal life. So happy that Purvi, you arranged this, and looking forward to a lively discussion.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm
Hi,
gonna.
Rajan uncle.
Hey, Saloni. Hey, Dipti. Dipti, is that Dipti you?
Yeah.
And Deepti
Yeah.
sent me a text message asking, "Is Shonak Rajanbhai's son?" I'm like, "Yes, he is." Isn't it amazing? But
Yeah, so I think just a few days back we were talking in our family, and I said I'm so proud of Dipti that she has left this area many years ago, but she still continues to remain engaged with the community and with JSCNC, and it's so wonderful because so many kids have simply disappeared. Once they have grown up, they started their life, and I'm so proud that you should never forget your roots and the community where you grew up. At least sort of pay back by sharing your experiences and sharing your thoughts and wisdom. So happy again, Dipti, to see you.
yeah, and I think that's
Good
part
to
of
see
the
you too,
reason we
uncle.
formed the youth director and outreach director role a few years ago. I think Ketan Kuruva had that position, and now this year I'm playing that role. So I'm going to go ahead
Okay.
and get started with the first question now. If each of the panelists can take a turn answering it, we'll go in a reverse direction now. So Deepti, you started the introduction, and Shonak, if you can start with your answer first, and we'll do the reverse of the introductions. Okay. Can you give an example of when you had to explain your beliefs to a friend, a non-Jain, and what was your explanation, and how did he or she react?
I can think of lots of examples. It happens all the time. But I think the most frequent time or the easiest kind of intro to it is when you're eating and someone sees that we're vegetarian. Um, and that usually sparks the conversation of, hey, why are you vegetarian? Um, and to me, um, that's a great opportunity for me to explain to a friend or a coworker or someone I'm just eating with my beliefs and touch on Jainism. So obviously that's the trigger, and then I get to explain what ahimsa is, right? I mean, that's why we're all vegetarian, nonviolence, compassion, this belief that we should live our life and reduce violence. We don't need to kill something to put food on our tables. Um, that all living beings are equal, and that's the core principle of Jainism. And when I get to explain that to people, they usually react, oh wow, that's really interesting, or that's really cool, because it's a really extremely basic concept that's very relatable and easy for people to understand. So I've done that plenty of times, whether it's freshman or sophomore year in college at the dining halls when I had to do that, high school, continue to do it all the time as you meet new people. But that's that's a very easy way for me to explain Jain beliefs, and usually the reaction from people has been really positive, and they're really interested to hear that.
Okay, thank you. Karishma?
Yeah, I had to unmute myself. So generally in my professional world, the trigger, first I will explain the trigger and then how I explain it. So generally the trigger is around pollution when I take days off from work. And generally it starts with my MD that, well, why are you taking 7 days off or 8 days off? And I'm like, well, because it's my religion coming up and whatnot. And then they're like, what are you going to do 8 days? And I'm like, bunch of things. And then I go in the little detail. And then generally the question is like, tell us more. So the way I explain it is that, especially in professional work life, everybody talks about stress, right? We all have stress. What are different ways to deal with the stress? So I explain Jainism from more stress perspective, right? That watching your thoughts, watching what you say, how are you interacting with people? There's a lot of science behind, neuro-linguistic research. And I generally tie Jainism with scientific facts, because nowadays human has been so advanced, and a lot of times when we tell people something just the way it is, everybody is going to question, well, why? Explain us more. So the way I explain Jainism is it's a very peaceful, calming way of life that includes definitely nonviolence, right? Not killing something to eat. Also in our thoughts, watching what we say, what we do, in action and our inner self. And generally that's how I explain. And then if they ask more, then I go in a little bit of more detail on, the right faith and right conduct, and then the 5 pillars of Jainism, but only if they are interested. I have a lot of my colleague ask me, oh, can you share a link with us? So before I share a link, because I really want them to understand what I follow, generally I have a conversation and then I share a link with them. And then few folks will come back and they're like, oh, this is so interesting. Also, I tied with because generally India, as soon as people have India, the country India in their image, Gandhiji comes up, right? Oh, you are from the country where Gandhi is, right? So obviously Gandhi definitely followed nonviolence, right? Then Martin Luther King comes up. And so we try to look at and explain Jainism from political beliefs, from stress perspective, and obviously the eating, right? The food and vegetarian and all that. So that's the way I look at it. And I explain.
Thank you. Saloni, do you have another example or?
Yeah, so actually when I first saw this question, the first sort of memory that popped up into my head was when I was in first grade, and I took a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every single day for lunch, and one of my friends had offered me some food or something, and I was like, oh no, I can't eat that. And that was when my first sort of real interaction of explaining what Jainism is. And as a first grader, like all I really understood / knew at the time was, oh, I'm a vegetarian. And the older I've grown, the more I've realized it's not just about being a vegetarian, it's how we live life. And so when I explain it to someone now, I explain it's more than just a religion, it's a way of life, and it's why I do things in a specific way, or why I do things the way that I do. And usually, like a lot of my friends that I've talked to about it, they've always been super interested, and then after conversing with them, they'll go and research, and they'll be like, oh wow, I didn't realize that this is how much harm that I've been doing. And I'm like, yeah. So
Awakening,
yeah.
right? I think we all have these aha moments in life every now and then, whether it has to do with religion or just in general, right? About for me, it had, I guess, most recently had to do with realization of how fortunate I am or have been, versus people of minorities, and the advantage that we have, and hopefully that we can make some improvement in bringing folks up. But anyway, that's another whole another topic to talk about. But Deepti, can you please answer the question at hand?
Yeah, happy to. I'm actually thinking about a more recent conversation I had with some friends, and I think that when I was younger, I would really explain the principle of ahimsa as the first one in the way that everybody else has shared. But I think today, particularly because my work is really focused on helping people develop more empathy for one another and like reduce some of the polarization it is that we have in our society, I've really been explaining the principle of anikantvad, as you know our belief that like multiple truths can exist and that everybody's truth is true. And I think that's really, the reaction, Purvi, to answer your question, is that I get from people when I explain that is people are like, oh, wow, what a beautiful principle, because it just is the foundation of being able to kind of live in peace and harmony with one another.
Yeah, and I think the next question that we have kind of goes along those lines. But each of you can add your perspective to it. The next question was, how do you think that being Jain can help you look at things differently than others? Karishma, if you want to start us off on that one.
Sure. I think that the more and more I think about it, I think Jainism is because of that, I can look at things differently. So a lot of time when I go to work, my colleague might be super upset because they don't just have the right day for the hair, or maybe they feel like, oh, I have a messed up hair today, or I couldn't do it, or oh, my children, something happened in their life, or oh, I spilled a ton of stuff in my kitchen before coming to work, and all whatever the stress are. And because of Jainism, I am not bothered by all of this, because first of all, we talk about that soul is more important than physical body, right? So whether I look good or not, or my hairstyle is looking perfect today, or I look pretty today or not, or oh, I need to go to salon, but I didn't get an appointment. All of these things, they don't bother me, because I know that it's just a body, right? More important is our soul, and I should focus on soul, right? So there's a lot of stress in this world because of how we look. So because of Jainism, it doesn't bother me. The other thing, when I look at things like, so other than death, anything else that I feel that, okay, we can get over that. So I'm still learning and teaching myself, like, how do I get over death? But that's a separate topic. But I think anything else, Jainism has helped me a lot, that this is a transition, right? Because I know a lot of people laugh, oh, you really believe a life after death, and do you really believe in karma theory? I'm like, yes, I do, and with pride I do, because a lot of times there are a lot of things that are unexplainable, right? So let's say I'm having a tummy pain, right? I go through ton of medical exams, right? CAT scan, MRI, bunch of blood tests, and they are not finding anything, right? There are something that just unexplainable, right? Why is this happening to me? I'm working so hard, but I'm not getting a promotion. So do I get mad at people? Do I become this toxic person and complaining and all that? No, it's because of my karma. So because I have this broader vision, I don't get into that, going down the rabbit hole of negativity, right? That, oh my God, everything is bad in this world. And how, so first of all, it makes me stay very positive person, because I know everything is, we are in transition, right? We have much more things to worry about than, oh, how do I look? And oh, my day is not going well. But what am I doing for my soul? So this past Parushan, we were talking about, and I know to some people this may sound crazy, but one of the lecture we were listening, they were saying that the ultimate goal of human life is to get moksha. And we cannot get moksha from the earth right now, but there is an alternate universe. And our goal should be, we should get born in Mahavidya Kshetra, and from there we can achieve the moksha. So even we don't believe in other universe, parallel universe and all that, our ultimate goal is that we need to have right faith, right conduct, right, and right knowledge. And even we don't believe in all this Jainism, and some people call it Huba Juba. Fine, we don't believe in all of that. But if we just practice the right conduct, right knowledge, right perception, right? As Dipti said, Anikantavad, that's a perfect example. Respecting everybody for having different thoughts. In the meetings, when we are trying to solve complex problems, some ideas, we have to respect everybody's views and everybody's perception, because to them, that's the reality, right? So I think that because of Jainism, it really helps me look at things from a different perspective. And I'm still teaching myself how to be patient, how to be tolerant of, other people, other perception, other thinking, other where they are coming from. So I feel that I have been very fortunate to be born as Jain.
Thank you. Who wants to go next to answer that same question?
Can I actually add something to that?
Sure, go ahead.
So I know there's a question about my Virathan experience that might come later, but what Gershmanti was saying just really kind of struck a chord with something that I did learn from that trip, which I've been using almost every day now. At least I try to. And one of the things that the Sadhujis kind of explained to me is the fact that the karma from your past life is what kind of determines what situations you'll be in your next life, and how you react to those situations is what situations you'll be put in your next life. And I kind of, whenever something goes wrong, I just think about it and I'm like, well, this happened because of whatever karma I had in my past life. So instead of wallowing in self-pity or something, I'm just going to figure out what to do from here. I mean, yes, I still get upset, I still get angry at things, but I kind of just always keep that in the back of my mind as well.
Yeah. Just to repeat the question, it was, how do you think that being Jain can help you look at things differently than others? So, Deepti or Shanak, either of you want to take that? Have a response to that?
I think it. I mean, what Deepti said to the first question on Ekantvad is what. When I think of this one, is what it is. I mean, it both professionally and personally. It really, that Jain principle really helps us, right? Multiplicity of views, that there are multiple truths. It really helps me, understand that I'm not. It's not just my opinion, or it's not just my point of view. That there's other people's opinions that are out there, that always need to be considered, always need to be looked at, because everybody's looking at things from a different perspective. And I think that believing in that principle and living that principle out means you take a step back, and can have that view on any situation, both at work, at home, with friends, and that really, that's definitely a big benefit, and positive of that Jain principle that we see in our lives every day.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so I think Deepti's response was for the first question can also go along with this question. But Deepti, do you have anything to add to this?
No, not really. I think the other place that it's like really helping me is in being a parent, and it's probably the hardest thing it is that I do is being a mom, and um being able to rely on these principles to be able to explain things to our kids has also been really, really helpful. And I find that like even at like the ages of like 3, 4, 5, the kids actually like understand it. We watched the movie Soul
Oh
with
yeah.
Aiden. He like understands that like if you do good things, then good things can happen to you. And I see him also using it as a way to resolve conflict it is that he has in the classroom. So yeah, I would just add that like as another way that I've seen it come up in my life.
Yeah. So that was actually one of the questions that we received was, so for both you and Karishma, since you're moms of both of you of two young children, what are the activities that you do with your children, or can each of you discuss how you teach your children, instill good values in them?
So,
Yeah.
because I just absolutely love reading Jain scripture and all that, and because of COVID, we can't really go out. So one of the thing I have been doing is, thanks to thanks to Praveen uncle, he has written such a great book and great skits. So we play them out. So we just pick one skit and we play it out. There is also really there are a ton of books that are in English, and it's easier for Ria and Viraj to understand them. So we read them, we reflect upon them. Last night we were reading on Art of Living and Samyak Darshan. So thanks to internet, there are too many good good content available outside. So we played Who Wants to Be Moksha. So moksha, the way we defined it, that's not what it means, but the way we defined it in our family is that person who will reach the moksha fastest. So we are playing this game. They can use me as one of the lifeline. They can call a friend, so they can call my parents. And we played this game, and all this content is available online. We just try to incorporate all of this in a game. I think several years ago, I also saw Join Jeopardy game, so we tried to do that. Another thing I have been doing is that it's very important for me that Riya and Viraj learns Gujarati to the best of their ability. So we play our Mara Sahib lecture in Gujarati, and then I pause in 5 minutes because it's too much content, and especially it's in a different language. So I asked them to translate that in English. I just want to make sure that they understood it. So there are lots of different ways so these are more on the academic side, like reading the books and content and play the games and all that. But in a day-to-day life, generally I ask them to reflect a lot on a situation and how we can help out and how we can help the community, because I really feel that all of us should do more and more to give back to our community. So Ria has been working very hard to her capacity, and then Viraj in his whatever he can do to donate their time or donate money or talk to somebody if they need help or whatever they can do. Several years ago, before COVID, we prepared all this big, huge suitcase to donate things in India, and we figured things out what's the best way to do it to make sure that it actually goes to a person who needs it. So these are several activities we have been doing, and also from our Jain community and other communities around, they have volunteer activity like clean the highway and go to the food pantry, and so on and so forth. So we have been trying that as well.
Thank you so much. Do you have that moksha game sounds interesting. If you have the link to it, can you share it on the chat, Karishma?
Yeah. Why don't I send it to you in an email, because I'm on a different computer right now.
Yeah,
We
no
just
problem.
made it last night. It's on a different computer. So yeah, I will be more than happy to share the link. The beginning of the presentation is Art of Living. Then it goes into Samyak Darshan, Samyak Gnan, and at the end they have this game. So yeah, I will definitely send that over.
Thank you. Dipti, can you answer that question?
Yeah, I think the like first answer to this question is that I think my mom is on the call, but we rely on my mom for a lot of that. And thank God we have a portal. We have a Facebook portal, and so mom spends a lot of time with the kids, and that's where I think they get the majority of it. But in terms of our day-to-day, we unfortunately, and Neethi and I are talking about figuring out how we can get like a small Jain community here going, because our temple is really far away. Actually, it's almost an hour and a half away, and so being able to go is just not very practical for us right now. And so finding out a way of us building like a small community closer to where we live is something it is that we're thinking about now that the kids are getting a little bit older. But I would say and I think that part of it is very important. I think that the reason why these things have stuck so much to me, back to what Raj and Uncle was saying before, was because of how strong the community was. It was not only a religious community, it was a social community. It was where our friends were. And I think that as a result, the lessons like stick more. And, I'm trying to figure out how we create that for our children here. But I would say that like in the day to day for, my son is only 5 and Luca is not even 2 yet. And so, it's probably a very different experience than for Karishma, but really it is just about like, this other value. I remember when I went to Jain convention, it was like everywhere, live and let live. Like this idea of like, you don't need to get like so consumed with everybody else's drama, and you can just like do the best it is that you, because every day I come here from Aiden when he comes back from school, this person did this and this person did this and this person did this. It's like, you just need to focus on yourself. But also this like real principle, like I shared before, around the more good that you do, the more good that will happen to you. Like just explaining karma in that way. And it's been really cool to see for such a small kid, 5 years old, like he has lemonade stands, but then he'll make a sign saying, I'll give all the money to the homeless people who are close to the house. And he has a glass jar where he puts that money, and that's like separate for him. And then whenever we go out for a walk, he takes that with him and, gives it to people. And even when we see somebody homeless on the street, he says, do you have money to give? I usually don't have cash. And so then he says, well, we have to go get some food for them because they're probably hungry. And so just, I think that it's not it doesn't have to be so much about the terminology or the language, or, you know, I don't explain ahimsa and anakantvad to him. But it's just about these like fundamental principles that can be incorporated into kids' lives very early on also.
Yeah.
I let mom do
We
the
have to come
harder
down
things.
to their level, right, to explain to them, right?
Yeah, and I think it's more important. It does. I don't actually care if he knows the word ahimsa or if he knows the word anakantvad. I care that he's able to live his life with those principles more, you know. And I want to see that more than I want to see him. Even I don't even care that he knows that he's Jain or he says that he's Jain, as long as he's really living with these values.
Yes. So welcome, Ushanti. I see that you're on. The question actually that Dipti had and Karishma had was, how do you instill, you know, good values into your young children? And Dipti says she mostly relies on you. So do you want to share some activities or what exactly you do with your grandchildren via this portal? Or
Yeah, I can't turn my video on anyway, but Purvi, thank you. But actually, Purvi, I think about you when I think about teaching my children.
oh wow, thank you.
Because I remember as your children when they were young, and you know how our pathshala was running. So, and we know we follow that Jaina syllabus pretty much, but to bring them to the practical level is very hard. And now that I have joined the Digambar philosophy, which I makes more sense to me logically, and that is what I try to explain to Aidan and Kian or Luca, because Dipti and Niti and Viraj, they learned it our way when they were young, which is little different than what I do. So they find me talking to them, their children, little different. That how come, mommy, you are telling this way now when we were talking other way? So that really sometimes brings, and often, you know, of course, it's a different points of view, Svetambar, Digambar, we don't need to get into that.
Yeah.
But to me, I think right now when the children are young is the best time to explain to them. And Aiden is very like, he will ask me upfront question, why Nani, why we don't want to eat potato? So he's he wants the answer. So those are the good things, you know, when the kids are young, we want to explain to them, and I try my best that way. Or if I drink boiled water and I drink, you know, after filtering the water, they wonder, you know, they say, why, what is this? Why are you doing this? So if they see us doing every day, then they understand, at least it will stuck to them, because not necessarily they are going to be understanding, but when they see, they believe it better. So that is one way I put it, that always, you know, all of you are young mothers, have a young, of course, everybody's career, professionals, everything is important. But myself being a professional, I realize that I wish I spend more time with children that should be explained, you know, doing those things instead of giving importance to my career. So that is one message I will give to your all young mothers, that please, I know it is very difficult and I myself regret it. And that's what I'm saying, that right now is the best time to teach the children what you think is the best, and catch those moments. Once children are 8 or 10 year old, they are out of your control. So when they are young is the best time, and make use of it and teach yourself first too. Then only kids will learn. If they see you in action, they will learn better with you. So that is my message to all of you.
Thank you. Actually, that's one of the questions that we have also for all of the panelists was, if you had one piece of advice for the youth that either are listening right now or will be listening to the recording, what would that advice be? Let's start with Shonak.
Sure. I think one piece of advice I like to kind of live by this is don't knock it till you try it. So what I mean by that is get out there, try new things, get out of your comfort zone, get out of things in your parents' comfort zone. Don't eliminate opportunities based on what other people tell you or what you've heard about something. Try to do it yourself and make your own decisions based on opinions you form yourself. So what I mean by this is, do internships, do co-ops, try living in a new city, join new clubs, meet new people, try a new sport. Just really put yourself out there. Don't knock it till you try it. Form your own opinions. And there, I mean, there's a lot of really cool opportunities and things to do out in the world that I think everybody should give everything a shot at least once.
Thank you. Good advice.
I can go next just because my computer is maybe dying, but I'll say that, like I actually kind of disagree with my mom a little bit. Nobody will be surprised about that, but I think that the opportunity it is that you have with your work, like where I spend at least, I mean, a little bit less now, but like, 10 hours a day working. And I have to explain to my children what I'm working on. And I think that we have an incredible opportunity in the choices it is that we make as it regards what our work is and how our work can really live these values, because it gives you the opportunity to put these values into practice in order to make society better, whether it is, ahimsa or anikantavad or yeah, just like really being in service of other people. Um, yeah, good doing things with good karma. And I think that that example of what it is that you do with work, and maybe, we can argue about the number of hours one should be spending on work, but I think that as young people you have many options to go become an investment banker and make a lot of money, or come to Silicon Valley to make a lot of money, or to really think about what these values are and how you want them to be lived in your life. And I think that's a really important responsibility each one of us have, given the faith it is that we have. And then even as it goes to cultivating the next generation, I'm able to explain to Aiden that I try to help people be kind to one another. And that's my job. And so that's what he tells people his mom's job is. And I think that matters. I think that matters a lot for what the next generation is also, learning and living. So I don't think it has to be so separate that, like, you live your Jane values and then you do your work. I think embedding it into work is probably one of the most important things it is that we can do as young people, to really live these values in a different way. And I would say that, Soloni, it was the Masati G's at Verizon that really taught me that was their work and they lived their values in a very practical way.
Yeah, no, I agree, especially right now, the situation that most of us are working from home, and this whole pandemic was sort of a blessing in disguise. And I've actually had conversations with many young parents who say that yeah, this has been a blessing for them, being able to do their work but then also spend time with their children at the same time. And yes, we kind of have to, I think any kind of belief system or values that people have, you can't just like have a set schedule like, okay, I'm going to be Jane from from like after 5 on. You kind of have to, you have to live your principles right throughout day and night. So thank you for that. Saloni and Karishma, if you want to add to that, otherwise we'll go on to the next question.
Yeah, I think for me, just with all of everything that I've lived with and everything that I've lived through, one of the biggest things for me is kind of following your passion and doing what it is you want to do. With me being in education, I wasn't always in education. I originally spent 4 years of high school in the medical academy with every intent to go to PA school. And then, honestly, my trip to Virayat then was kind of very eye-opening, where I was like, I was meant to teach. And I'm not gonna, and I told my dad this too. I was like, I don't want to give 100% to my job monthly. I would rather give 110% every single day. And that's just kind of something that I live by right now. And I will continue to, just with my future career as a teacher.
What I want to say is that if there's something I would like to tell the youth is that when I was younger, the way Jainism explained to me was that, oh, you do all these pujas and you go to temple every day and you do all this activities, and that's Jainism. So what I came to understand is that, yeah, that's a little portion of Jainism. That's not all Jainism is about. So I think really understanding the content behind it, I feel like Jainism makes you a really good 360-degree a good person. So yes, making money is important. Yes, spending time at your work is important, but it's also very important to self-reflect, introspect. And that's what I feel like Jainism talks about. Be okay and be comfortable spending time with yourself, who you are, right? What is charisma is all about, right? So that kind of deep thinking, I think it's very important. So we do Samaik. So instead of when we do Samaik, right, it's you spend time 48 minutes, you don't talk, right? So meditation, yoga. So I know this may sound sometime when I talk to youth people, they're like, yeah, this is old people activity, we don't have time for that. But slow down, don't look at life as a race. Just don't go from one activity to another and just drive yourself crazy. Please don't. Just take time, get to know yourself. To Saloni's point, do what you like, right? We are, as the Indian, most of the time we are placed in this bucket. Either we are going to be a doctor or an engineer or nothing. Why? Right? Open up your horizon, do what you like, get to know yourself, leverage Jainism, spend some more time, do more reflection, do more introspection. So, and please don't associate, if any youth is out there, that, oh, I have to do Samaik and I have to do puja and I have to learn stuti. Yeah, it's good if you learn, but that's not all Jainism is. Learn the crux behind Jainism and then the way of life. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. You know, I meditate every morning, and the kids know that I'm meditating then. And they're not gonna, I mean, sometimes they sit for like 2 or 3 minutes, but just by like living with that example, you know, and I don't explain, so I'm not, first of all, I'm not even doing Samayak, but I still think that like showing, I think that what all of us are saying is that it's like the practice of this is just so important. And so figure out the way that you make the practice real for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everyone may have a different way of how they practice it, right?
If I may, Purvi, if I may add a quick comment here
Yeah,
to
go ahead, Transfer.
various points. You
Go ahead.
know, and I do hear that sort of the recurring theme in everyone's response, especially young professionals. We don't want them to be bogged down into agams and Jain theory, but rather be a better person, a more helpful person, you know, a better citizen for the world. Just be aware of people around you, be respectful of your actions, inactions, and those sort of things. You know, I think the theory, the Samaik, all that, I think it all automatically will fit into their mind, you know, as they get older. But you know, like Dipti said, you know, when her little child walks out, he has some comment about the homeless people, like, okay, can we buy some food for the person? And so I think that's the foundation. And uh, and that foundation needs to be nurtured.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I chose these four amazing individuals to be on the panel, because I know that each of them have volunteered their time in some way or another to help others. So and we can go into specifics of that, but I don't want to leave out a couple of other questions that are related to actually the experience of college. And so a couple of questions combined together that if you can go respond to. Was have you had times in your life where you've leaned more towards Jain principles than other times? And if yes, what made you change and regain your faith? And how have you dealt with people who may have pressured you to drink alcohol or other activities that may not be aligned with Jain principles?
I can start with that one if you
Go
want.
ahead. Go ahead, Shona.
So I guess that's a couple questions. As far as times that I've leaned on Jainism more than others, I think a big transition for me and maybe I assume for a lot of people is high school to college. So high school, you know, you're trying to fit in. You're around your peers from like 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. For school you're there, but then you go to college and sure, you have classes with your peers, but you're with your peers 24/7 now. You live on campus, you're eating with them, your entire social life's with them, your weekends are with them. You're not going back to your parents after every day. And kind of in high school, I didn't really have to explain or lean on Jainism a lot because I was just trying to fit in. But then in college, I realized that, hey, now these people, I'm eating with them, I'm spending time with them, we're discussing things more than just, did you do the homework or what's the answer to this question? And I realized that people are really, really curious and interested in my religion and my background. And maybe that's not all people, but the people I wanted to surround myself with. And so all these non-Jain people that were really curious and really believed and wanted to hear about what I believe in, really motivated me to kind of double down on Jainism and really truly understand kind of what we've all been saying, what my dad said about, you know, getting past the agams and the tradition and really studying and learning the principles and the cores of Jainism and using that to explain to other people. So I'd say when I transitioned to college is when I really my faith really doubled down I enhanced it for sure. And then the other question about pressure to drink or pressure to do things that don't align with Jain beliefs kind of goes hand in hand with that. I think, again, if you surround yourself with the right people, when you can explain why you're doing something, explain why you say no to this or no to that instead of just saying no, um, people understand it and respect you much more for that. So that's kind of been my approach of a brief little, a quick little, hey, I'm not doing this and this is why.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Actually, I
kind of
can relate
going.
to that. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just gonna say, kind of going off of that, especially in college, one of the biggest things for me has been the food aspect of everything. And luckily, over the last 3 years, including this year, the last 3 years now, my mom sent me to college with an Instant Pot. So I'm able to make my khichdi that I love. But not just that, like my roommates thus far have been super understanding of everything. And so if I have my own shelf in our fridge of where it's just my food, and like they're very cognizant of my sort of dieting habits, for lack of better terms. And it's really nice to just know that there are people who may not fully understand, but they're willing to go that extra mile of still supporting. And as far as the other question about things that peer pressure that might align with, that might not align with Jain values, I honestly have been super lucky and have not had to deal with any of that. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Karishma or Deepti?
I would say that not only this goes on in high school or college, even in professional world. I was in a conference one time, and I'm gonna make this story super short because we talked about a pressure of drinking alcohol and all that. So we were done with the conference, and at the night, apparently all of my coworkers, they were gonna go to the cigar bar and then do whatever. And I'm like, I'm not coming, I'm not joining in. And then the next day we supposed to make some key decisions. So my boss at that time, he's like, oh, we discussed all this last night at the cigar bar. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm one of the key decision maker here, and you, yeah, like, oh, and they're like, yeah, we already discussed all this thing, and like, you should have come. And I'm like, I'm not gonna come to a cigar. I don't smoke, and I'm not gonna come. So then my boss is, well, he said, well, then you're gonna be left out, because we are gonna go to cigar bar again tonight, and we are gonna discuss some key things. So I guess point being is that it's not this is not just in college or just in high school. This goes on in professional life. You will be one peer pressure or a colleague, however you want to do it. You all the time have to make the choices that how far are you willing to go, right? And this has somewhat has to do with Jain principle, but I think it is also about the identity, right? That do I give up my principles and just go with them because I want to be promoted, I want to be part of this team, and what should I do? So I just feel like that, well, first of all, there's a lot of awareness, right? Like veganism is like in our mom, a lot of people know about being vegan, and alcohol and alternatives for alcohol consumption and all that. But yeah, we all have to deal with this in a different way, and yeah, just how to deal with it, I guess.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the pressure can occur even after college, but I think after a certain point in time, you kind of, I think most people have their values like set, like, okay, this is who I am, and you figure things out eventually. Um, but yeah, there's certain age frame I feel like that before the realization of who it is that you are occurs, then there's this like wavering, okay, with trying to figure it out. So, Dipti, did you want to add to that question?
I'll just say that, I'll just say, I guess going back to what Rajan Uncle said and what maybe all of us have been saying, that really figuring out what the principle looks like in practice for you is really important. So I actually found some of our Jain principles really hard to relate to. Like when you really think about the path to moksha, it's like you're supposed to do no good and no bad, right? Like no karma, like, right? That's why they're like all meditating and doing that. But then when I met Virayathan and the Sadhijis there, I said, this is a different path. And they were not supposed to get on the planes to go from Bihar to Gujarat. But they decided that they were going to break that rule that was part of our religion in
Yeah.
order to do what they felt was better. And I really look at that as an example of like, it's not about the rule and sticking to the rule. It's about you interpreting what these values mean to you and then figuring out using your brain to make like the right decision about, what to do in a specific situation, not to use a principle or, something that somebody told me in Jane meeting, but like rely on that for me to know that I know the difference between right and wrong, like the Sadhgurus knew.
Yeah.
That even if they were going to be criticized for getting on the plane, that they were still going to do it. And they're still criticized for a lot of things that they do that are not kosher.
Yeah, I know some people don't even consider them true savages because they went into them. But Deepti, if can you talk a little bit about your volunteer work or things you did in India, and how you founded the Fellows Program at Acumen Fund? Can you explain what that is? Your
Yeah,
involvement?
sure. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was really inspired when I heard about Verizon and like with the way it is that they were able to. I'm sure Saloni has a similar
Yeah.
experience and stories.
You had started some program in a park or tried to create a community park.
Yeah, that was in India more recently. Yeah, I mean, my career has been full of lots of different experiments and putting our Jain values into practice. starting with Verizon, and then I went to Acumen Fund, which was supporting businesses in India and Africa that were serving the poor. And there also the fellowship program was like building a leadership development program for people who wanted to go through that experience. And yeah, I would say our Jain values are a crux of all of it. The experience around the park is really like my personal manifestation of the values of of Anekantvad. I felt like after living in India for a long time that it was just like, frankly, so disgusting how rich people live on top of poor people and don't even like treat them with any respect in any way. And many Jain people, frankly, many of my own family, frankly. And I wanted to figure out like how we can live in like, you know, in India in particular, here in America, poor people live in different neighborhoods than where you live. But in India, they live downstairs and you live upstairs, right? So, but yet you get into your car, you don't acknowledge them. Sometimes you even complain that they're getting in your way. You go to private school, you go to a private hospital. But that wasn't going to be, that's not a path for India. That's not a path for a good society when the rich live so separately from the poor. And so again, it is this principle of Anikintvad, which is like, how do we each see each other like in our common humanity? And so the idea around the park was that we organized. So Haya was the organization I created, and a part of that was creating this project in a park where we brought the rich and the poor together to work together to make their park a beautiful place where everybody was welcome.
Thank you.
I do give a lot of credit to Jainism and the way we learned it was the foundation for that work.
Yeah. That sounds like an incredible experience and work that you did there. Thank you for that. Saloni, your dad actually shared with me that you had you're going to college to become a teacher, but you actually did tutoring volunteer work here, and then also you went to Virayatan a few years ago. Can you talk a little bit about both of those experiences, please?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that I ever tutored besides helping the kids that I babysat with like their homework or anything. But my freshman year of high school, you know, going back to when I had to do volunteer hours for the medical academy, I ended up volunteering at Rex Hospital. And I was so appreciative of the fact that I got the opportunity to be in the daycare center where, you know, the parents who work at Rex, they're able to put their kids through daycare there. And I was working with, I think, the 4 or 5-year-olds. And you know, at that age, I was like 14 or 15. These kids were about 10 years younger than me, and I didn't really know what I was doing. But it got to a point where I got them started on learning their alphabet and, you know, just reading basic what are called sight words of like one consonant, a vowel, consonant. I realized, you know, like this is fun. Like I'm actually it's more I feel like it's more rewarding for me because, you know, to watch these kids grow into the readers that they can be. And so that was 2014, and then in 2019 I did go to Virayatan, and that was, you know, my dad had kind of just texted me about it one day, and he was like, hey, there's this program in India, do you want to do it? And you know, I had no idea what it was. I never looked it up or anything, and I was like, you know what, it's in India, I haven't been in like 3 years, sign me up, let's do it. And I got there, and it was just such a life-changing experience. I know my dad says that I came back a different person, and I did, you know, like they said, you really see the parts of India that, you know, sometimes you just don't want to believe are true. And I think that gave me a better, for lack of better words, appreciation for my life and for everything that, you know, my parents have gone through for me, for everything that I've gone through. And that between volunteering at Rex and, you know, being able to teach kids in India, that's where I got my passion for education from. And then over the past 2 summers as well, I work with a program called Breakthrough Collaborative. We have 24 different sites over this the nation, and we work with first generation low income students to kind of close that gap of what they forget between their summer breaks. And 2020 we were virtual, so it like as great of an experience it was virtual, it doesn't, you cannot compare it to how it was in person this past summer. And it's like I said, it's just teaching is such a rewarding thing when you get to see the improvements that these kids have made. And over this past summer when I was in person, like every teacher, we have to give a pre and a post test, and just the immense amount of growth that you see, it's like, I did that. And it's just such a great feeling that you're helping the kids. And I actually had one of my students recently email me, and he was like, "Miss, like, I've failed math for who knows how long, but I actually know what's going on." And part of that, when it comes, one thing that comes to mind is the like conditional statements. I don't know if anyone remembers geometry, but it's like if then statements. So I told my kids, I was like, if y'all do your homework and if are exemplify what breakthrough stands for, then next week I'll let you pie me in the face. And that got their attention. So on a Thursday, they all stood in line and pied me in the face. And it's just they thought that it was like a punishment or like that I didn't enjoy it, but a lot of the things that we do as teachers, like we enjoy it too.
So Saloni, it sounds like you have found your passion, and I'm really happy. I see sparkles in your eyes and excitement, and I'm very happy to see that. It's very nice for anyone who finds their passions. It's very nice to see
Oh,
that.
for sure. Yeah. I often think about how different my life would be if I had stuck with medicine. And I
Yes.
am thankful that I did not.
Yeah, it sounds like you're really happy, and I hope you continue to be happy and successful, being a great teacher. Um, so I don't know if you know, but this year actually our Jain Study Center of North Carolina started a mentoring program for the first time, and we've had a small group of people actually who are mentees and mentors, and both Karishma and Shonak have volunteered to be mentors. So can both of you discuss what that experience has been like for you so far, for you as well as your mentees?
So I can talk about that. So as I was mentioning earlier, that unfortunately in our Indian community we have just pretty short number of buckets, either doctor or engineer. And then when I was growing up, I just couldn't see blood. So I mean, I think that medical profession is amazing that you get to actually help a person, but I just couldn't see blood. So then my dad at that time said, okay, well then you can be an engineer. And I'm like, well, I'm not very good in computers. And then and he's like, well, that's it. Either you become a doctor or you become, and then that's it. So then I'm like, okay, well, what can I do? So at that time, there was not, and I don't want to really, I guess I'm dating myself here, but at that time, it was not that much like exposure to internet. We still go to library. We still go through those punch card and look for the book you browse through and all that. So I got this huge book, and then I'm like, okay, can I do computer science? Long story short, I do not enjoy it. It's very boring sitting in front of computer and all day long you code and you troubleshoot, and that's just not me. So I'm mentoring one young girl. I'm not sure if she's here or not, but she wants to do computer science, which I think it's great. If you love computers and coding and be in front of computer, that's great. It's just not for everybody. If your personality is like that, that's very good. So I get to show her from my perspective that what I enjoyed. So I have a master's in computer science and I completed my PhD coursework. So I have done extensive work in computer science, and so I get to explain to her what I am going through and what happened in my career. My first job was as a coder. I absolutely didn't like it. And then what did I do that I am in a place that where I am liking it, right? So what are the different options what to think about, all that. I also discuss some of the health issues, because being in a computer industry for more than 20 years now, we can have eye problem, right? And tendonitis and back problem. And a lot of people don't discuss all of these things. So we are taking one aspect of computer science degree every time we talk. We generally have 1 to 1.5 hour session, and then I'm really enjoying it because I feel like that I didn't had a chance to do this when I was in my 19 and 20s and in my younger 20s. But if I can share my experience transparently with someone, and if I can make a little bit difference, my goal is to not sway her away from computer science. My goal is to get her reach her goal, right? That whatever she wants to do. So we also talked about different, what other than coder and other than just sitting in front of computer, what else can you do? So to me, it has been super fun. And I'm kind of seeing myself in her 20 years ago. So it's a lot of fun actually for me.
Great, great. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Shona?
Yeah, I think it's been a great program so far. Obviously, like you said, it's a new program, and so we had a really solid kickoff meeting, um, and so far, I would really encourage everybody on this call, if you've got kids that are of that age that need a mentor, or if you've got kids that are maybe, out of college or been working for a couple of years, to encourage them to reach out to Purvi Auntie to try to become a part of the program, because I think it's really got a lot of potential to be great and really help us as a local Jain community help support ourselves and continue. The community isn't the way it is, because we didn't stick together and didn't do things like this. New programs like this will just keep making it stronger for the future generation.
Thank you, Shona. The next one, actually, next two questions, I'm going to combine them, actually come from Anand Bai, who's the current president of JSCNC. And they are, can you provide suggestions to our youth on how to educate or have a constructive dialogue with peers who want to know about Jainism? And can you please share your favorite memory from JSCNC events?
I can start this one off. So I think one of my favorite things about our community is just the aspect of family and how, everyone in quote unquote my generation, I feel like we're all able to be siblings or act like siblings. And when I saw this question, the first thing that comes to my mind, Shauna, you probably remember this and already know what I'm talking about, but there was this one time at Jain camp where, the adults had asked all the kids to go around the cabins and just like clean up and make sure that everything was better than the way we left it. And I walked into a cabin and I was maybe like 6, 7, like I was a child. And Shaunik's a little older than me, so he's being the big brother trying to mess with the younger siblings. He locked me inside the cabin, and I probably cried for like 30 minutes or so. And I don't know why, but that just happens to be one of my favorite memories. I think it's probably because it's one of the most vivid ones that I have. But yeah, and then I guess the next part is I'm not sure if Ritanti still has them, but I had asked her a question about this a few years ago, and she gave me like this little business card sized thing that kind of had the basics. It was like an elevator pitch of what Jainism is. And I usually keep that on hand, but I don't have it with me. And I guess my one piece of advice is just, be you and don't be afraid or ashamed to explain your religion.
Yeah, those are actually, I think YJA created those cards. It basically had the principles of ahimsa, aparigraha, anekantvada, and meanings of them, and then actually like a few 2 or 3 minute meditation that you could do by yourself, and how to go about doing that. So yeah, those were good. I don't know what happened to mine. But yeah, that was a good daily reminder. So every time you pick up your purse or phone, keep info. So if each of you can answer that question, please. Do you need me to repeat it?
No, I'm happy to add. I would just say that, like, all my memories are long time ago. But they're all kind of like grounded in the way we were really, yeah, she used Saloni's language, like really family with one another. I think the Jain community was really an extension of that. And so whether it was the camps we did or Sunday Jain meeting, I think now Sunday Jain meeting happens at the temple, that before it used to happen in people's houses. And I think now, maybe it's catered or something, but like before it was like really potluck and like everybody would bring things and just like being able to like really, yeah, like live together and in community. And yeah, I mean, there's just so many memories of just like being kids and running around with, friends from the Jain community. And then I think probably the other question was, how do you ask people, what was on its question? How do you
So
explain?
yeah, can you give some suggestions on how to educate or have a constructive dialogue with peers who want to know about Jainism?
Yeah, I think that what like Saloni said is really right. Like, be proud of who you are, every part of who you are. Being Jain is just one part of who you are. And share it with people. I would say like my 5 best friends from college, all, they became my friends because they took interest in learning about this part of me. But I think that the more it is that, you allow it to be a part of you and in your experience with other people, the more that natural curiosity will happen. Um, yeah, I guess like my main message is like it's not to explain Jainism through the agams or any of that stuff, but just like I said before, like whatever it means to you, however you have made meaningful to you, explain that part because I think people will be very curious about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that I want to just add one thing here. So I think it's useful to know what it means to you, but if it has to do with how you're practicing it or rituals, um, to know yourself, right? What Praveen Uncle always tells all of us is to have the knowledge before practice, right? Um, so understand like what it is that you're doing, right? Before you implement it, because without understanding it, like I don't know how I would explain to my kids, right? All the various things I do throughout the day. They'll be like, "Mom is insane." I'm like, "No, I'm not crazy. There's a reason why I'm doing certain things, like And then when they actually explain to them, they're like, "Oh, Mom makes a lot of sense, actually," you know. So they really get it when I explain it to them. Sorry to interrupt, but go ahead. If Karishma and Shonaki wanted to add to that response.
So I would just say the happiest memories. I think we have been talking about this in this session, that Jainism cannot be that, okay, after 5 p.m. I want to be Jain, right? It has to be throughout, right? You as a whole person, and be proud. And to add to that, I guess, be proud of who you are. But when I saw the Jain Halloween, that one of the year that Pathshala teacher had, my kids absolutely enjoyed it. We Googled it, what are the characters that we can be and why, and they started reading up the stories, and they were so happy. I mean, my kids love Halloween, just and combining that with Jainism, to me that was a brilliant idea of combining different cultures, different concept. And this is also again a proof that Jainism is not existing inside silos within you, right? You are all together as a one person, right? So I think that was one of my happiest memory, to see my children so excited. Generally, as a parent, sometimes you have to nudge your children, or maybe remind them. For that, I never had to give them reminder. They were so excited. They went right in preparing the costume, and just very, very excited. As far as having a constructive dialogue with the youth, I think first of all, you have to be proud of them yourself, that you are Jain, right? Before you can have that conversation. So like I would tie a raksha potli on my hand, and it's a red thread with like a little potli package kind of thing on the top. And a lot of people would ask me, what is that? Is that a fashion, or is that something really? But if I'm not proud of that raksha potli that I'm tying, yeah, it's not going to go with a Western outfit, right? If I will have all these doubts, right? Oh yeah, it's going to look really like whatever. It's not going to go with the Western outfit. I'm going in a meeting. I'm flying to New York for a conference, and here I have Raksha Potli on my right hand. If I'm not confident, and if I'm not sold in that idea, then I cannot have constructive conversation about me being Jain. So first, I think you have to have that mental strength and that mindset that, okay, yes, I am proud, I am of me being Jain. Here is why I'm tying Raksha Potli. This is part of my faith, right? Then you can start having those solid conversation, right? And then I think people will come back to you if they're interested, and they maybe want to know more. I have a lot of my colleagues and a lot of people come back and like, tell us more, right? They don't need to be Jain, but they can always take advantage of Jain principles, right? They don't have to call Samik, but they can do meditation, right? They don't have to put label to what they are doing, but they can at least do that. So I think all of us are very aware of stressacademy.org, where lot of Jain professionals, young doctors, graphic designers, we have all come together, and we have made videos on how Jainism, it doesn't matter, it attach whether you are Jain or non-Jain, whoever you are, but how can we answer some of your questions that you are dealing with day-to-day life, right? Like stress. Where does conscious come from? Where does stress come from? How do you deal with stress? So feel free to go to that website. Feel free to contribute to that website. It's a completely voluntary based website. I'm putting a lot of messages out on social media and bunch of other places wherever I go. Like go to stressacademy.org, start watching those videos. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you. um, I think each of you answered that question. Oh, Shonak, actually, I think. Did you answer that?
Yeah, no, I haven't yet. So I guess I'm gonna kind of echo what everybody has said, but I mean, you all have probably heard like to be able to educate or teach someone anything like Jainism, like you have to truly understand it, and I think that's, you have to have a true belief in it and a true understanding, more than just be able to say the words ahimsa, nikantva, samik, but truly understand, like everyone said, like what those mean to you and what the principles and what are at the core there. Because once you have that, you can break that barrier and transition from, you know, you tell someone you're Jain and they're like, what is that? And it's just, oh, it's a small religion in India that you probably never heard of. But then you can explain those principles, not the word ahimsa or anakantvad, but what they actually mean. And people will realize that, wow, this is a religion I've never heard of, but all these concepts are super relatable, very common throughout multiple religions and cultures. And that'll spark more conversation and help people understand what on its surface is something they'd never even heard of is really a religion that is extremely simple, but with very strong and powerful base principles that kind of help guide us to live our life. So that's kind of my take on that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a philosophy and way of life, right? More than just a religion. I think I know everyone that is on this call right now, or can somehow get in touch with them. Can the person whose initials are TS say who they are? If we need to send some information afterwards, we can do so.
Tejal, Shah.
Okay, are you part of the Bachelor Teachers Group?
No, I just got the email, so I was interested in joining.
Oh, okay.
I'm part of the Padshala group, but
Oh, you're a Bachelor Group. Okay, thank you. So, I think we're gonna open it up in case. Thank you everyone for staying on. It's been a really interesting conversation, discussion, and I think everyone was engaged in it. If anyone else has any other questions for our panelists or any specific panelists, please, chime in. Okay, if not, thank you all very much, and thank you for your time and your volunteer work.
One thing, Purvi, I might just add. I know, I mean, we all talked a lot about it, and a lot I heard was more like seva and sadhana, what Virayatan is doing. But I just want you to give one more message that this human life is very precious, and another thing is that you are born to be a Jain, and that is also very valuable thing. That people don't realize it, but to be born as a Jain is really a privilege. And secondly, when we talk about sadhana seva is good, we are talking about helping others, but most important thing is to help yourself first. When you help yourself first, naturally others will get helped. But which is what I'm trying to get to is that we don't focus on helping yourself. That means reducing your rag, dvesh, kasai. That is more important. That can put you to more at peace than anything else. Then naturally others will perceive it and it follows. So that is one thing I think as a children, if we can instill into them, that will be a good thing.
No, excellent point, Auntie. I think you make a good point, right? Anytime we get on a plane, the hostesses tell us, make sure your belt is on correctly and before, you take care of your child or others around you. So yes, we have to take care of ourselves and be healthy, both physically, mentally, spiritually, before we can help others. But for some people, maybe that process of helping others kind of helps them as well, right? So, a matter of perspective on that. Thank you everyone for your input. I felt that each of your perspectives has been really, eye-opening and helpful. And I hope that you all continue to be involved in our community. And the others who are part of this, even not on the panel, I know that you all put in your time and effort, British by Rajan by everybody, Doro, everybody. So thank you for that as well.
Yeah, thank you everyone. This was a lot of fun. So Jai Jindra everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Jai Janendra.
I want to say, Purvi, thank you for setting it up. It was excellent.
Thank you.
Good to see good to see young blood.
It was good to see you, Saloni, Shauna, Dipti. It's always a pleasure. So
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.